Majora's Mask. Chapter 71. Anju and Kafei. Part 1. The innkeeper sat in her hotel's empty lobby, alone. A faint sliver of light spilled in from the window across the room, and the clock ticked slowly behind her. Her chest rose and fell with each breath as she absently traced a finger along the fine, glossy coat over her desk. She left a trail parting a thin layer of dust. Mother will get mad if she sees that, Anju thought. It was her job to clean, after all, and a dirty lobby would only hurt business so close to the carnival. It's only 3 days away now. Up until recently, this year's Carnival of Time promised to be the best of her life. Now, it was like any other. She sighed and walked to the staircase. The hotel didn't open for another 2 hours. She had time to kill. When Anju made it to her bedroom, the mannequin between both beds greeted her. A beautiful white dress of fine silk rested over it, simple in its elegance. A golden mask hid the mannequin's painted eyes, the moon mask. Its counterpart, sadly, was long gone. Anju didn't quite know how long she stood there, staring, but her legs eventually carried her to the bed. She lay down with the bedroom door open, the downstairs clock still ticking away all the time left until 8 o'clock. She had until then to dust the desk. Will it even matter? She thought. The moon outside might chase away all her guests, new or otherwise. I guess we'll see. The townsfolk in the main plaza of South Clocktown looked curiously at the clock tower doors, as they always did when he stepped out. Link made sure to take note of them all. He watched the carpenters turn to face them, as well as the flying Deku scrub, the mailman, and the vendors at their stalls. They all turned their heads looking for perhaps an old man or a skull child. Instead, they found a boy with a green tunic and a pointed hat pulled over blonde hair. A scabbard and shield were clad tightly to his back, and a bulky brown bag hung at his side. His hand instinctively stopped the sunlight from blinding him as Tattle flew out next to him. Link paid special attention to another boy in the plaza who had purple hair and a fox mask. The boy stealthily approached a postbox. To deliver Kafei's letter. Last cycle, Link had chased him down to no avail, so this time, he only watched. The strange child never noticed Link's gaze as he slipped his letter into the slot. He then fled to the laundry pool, quick as a mouse.
This is the last time we'll experience the first day, isn't it?
Tattle asked, still enamored with the bright morning and busy townsfolk. Maybe, Link said, smiling. The possibility of a new 4th day was exhilarating. It meant that this cycle, everything that happened was for real. Their plan was to reunite the innkeeper with her long-lost fiancé, kill time until the clock tower's top opened, and end this once and for all, bringing the couple with them into the future.
I can't believe we actually freed all the giants,
Tattle said, looking up the length of the tower.
How many cycles did it take us again?
Link shrugged. I don't know how I'd even start counting.
Tattle considered. We didn't use all 72 hours in most of them, and we technically went over into the 4th day once. Horrible. And I guess I missed the first one you lived through, so 12, I think?
She turned the math over in her head one more time.
Yep. Believe it or not, this is the 12th cycle.
3 cycles per giant. That's not too bad, I think. I just hope this one ends as happy as the last one. Tattle nodded eagerly.
We blocked the dark magic in your scar, which means you've got cool new powers. We got a new sword, some light arrows, and freed the last giant.
Her smile faltered, however, when she thought of other things that had happened.
I mean, sure, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but...
She turned back to the clock tower, looking at its distant peak once again.
Do you think the Skull Kid's back?
I don't know, he replied. But if he is, I don't think he'll remember anything, since...
Yeah,
Tattle finished. He saw Zelda, the scorched black earth, that horned, purple-eyed owl, and Majora's Mask again, but the memories were quick to recede. The darkness in my scar wants to be in control again, Link realized. The flashbacks were far tamer ever since the fierce deity had been tamed, but he knew the battle was not permanently won. While the scar was a fantastic new weapon, he would have to tread on thin ice whenever he used it.
Do you think Majora's Mask returned to him?
Tattle asked.
What about the giants? Are they just waiting for us to summon them?
I bet it's a bit more complicated than that, Link said. Let's get the lovebirds back together first, which shouldn't take all 72 hours. I mean, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to think about the giants after that.
I hope so,
Tattle said.
And our lead right now is the purple-haired kid. You don't want to chase him again?
Let's wait for the letter to be delivered to Anju, and then we can go from there.
When does that letter delivery happen again?
Tattle asked. She turned to the massive clock face watching the wheel turn with gravitas. A few hours after the hotel opens. Link tried to remember recalling the postman almost trampling his Deku scrub self. The conversation between him and the innkeeper had been awkward and entertaining.
Well, it doesn't even open until 8,
Tattle said.
What should we do until then?
Link looked away as he thought, trying to remember their other leads. We could go to the mayor's office. This time Muto won't be there. The boy pointed out the gruff, massive carpenter in the middle of the square who barked orders angrily. Last time they visited, so long ago, he'd been caught up in an argument with the mayor about evacuating.
Why would we do that?
Kafei is the mayor's son, remember? Maybe we can find out something from his parents.
Huh,
Tattle said.
Yeah, that does sound better than stalking children, even if they are acting weird and have purple hair.
Do you have something against people with purple hair? Tattle narrowed her eyes.
Purple is the color of evil.
What about your brother?
Case in point.
She hesitated, holding back some other thought. If the Skull Kid was up there again, then Tail would be too. Link didn't blame her for waiting to check. She could fly and see for herself right then, but that wouldn't lead to anything good.
Lead the way, fairy boy,
Tattle exclaimed, flying to East Clocktown with him close behind.
Ah, fairy boy,
she sighed sadly. What's wrong? Something wrong? Link asked.
Link the fairy boy? That makes me miss Sparkle.
You miss Sparkle? Link laughed. You know, we only lost her like an hour ago, technically, as far as our experience of time goes.
Yeah, the whole skipping 6 hours thing is bothering me more than usual,
Tattle said, sheepishly looking at the bright sky.
Or, I guess, going back 66, we lost a night of sleep, and I don't know how much longer I can keep going without a break. Usually you walk out of those doors fatally injured, so there's time to rest.
We'll take the knife chamber again, Link said. No cycle is complete without robbing Mr. Ink's reservation.
It's going to be really awkward if we ever meet this guy, especially if everything we do in this cycle stays permanent. How will you explain why we took his room almost 12 times?
Hey, we had to save the world, Link said.
Right,
she said, flying up the last bit of the staircase with him. They entered the plaza, passing between the tall poles with colorful banners strung between them. Link narrowly avoided running into a man in a blue tunic who juggled 3 balls in his hands as he walked.
So, Sparkle got her face blown halfway off, right?
Tattle asked. Link raised an eyebrow. You must really miss her, don't you?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, will the Great Fairy have a scar on her leg or something because one of her strays got disfigured? Like the one tiny part that was Sparkle just leaves a mark on her whole self?
I'm not sure I'm following, Link said. Tattle sighed.
Whatever, just forget I said anything. And no, I don't miss Sparkle that much. Just a little.
They passed up the staircase to the upper district, where the long, rectangular mayor's residency awaited. The door was shut, but inviting, still flanking the narrow alleyway leading into the sewers. Link smiled at the kid in the yellow cap hopping up and down in front of it. I probably won't have to blast him with Deku Goop this time, he thought. However, the warm feelings were quick to die when he approached the door to the mayor's office. He recalled one more dark, twisted piece to this puzzle.
It's a good thing we wiped the mayor's murder from the timeline,
Tattle said, reading his mind.
That would have been an unfortunate thing to bring into the cycles.
Tattle, Link said gravely. What did I tell you about jinxing things?
What?
She said defensively.
The odds really are in our favor. There's no way we're unlucky enough for the same evil resident of Termina to find the Re-Dead mask every time. Let's hope some rabbit ran off with it after we played the ocarina.
And you think we're equipped to handle a rabbit with the ability to control the blood in our veins? Link asked. Tattle smiled.
Are we being serious or not? Yeah, let's prepare for the worst. But if a killer rabbit comes flying over the town walls, we'll shoot it down with a light arrow. We still have 5 of those, right?
4.
Right, 4. That's plenty.
She turned back to the mayor's door.
Now let's stop getting sidetracked and ask about their son. It'll be a lot less creepy walking in there this time.
Link nodded and hoped that horrifying, gory moment had truly been left behind 2 cycles ago. The hallway led straight to the desk, where a familiar young woman stood behind it. Her elbows rested on the wood with her chin in her hands, looking off dully. A clock ticked behind her, and the hallway led straight to her, placed between 2 doors on her left and right. Link and Tattle looked to the right one cautiously, trying to forget the red nightmare once hiding behind it.
"Can I help you?"
the attendant asked.
"It's awfully early to have visitors. We usually don't open until 10.
"We're here to see Kafei's parents," Link answered, remembering the demeaning way she'd spoken to him as a Deku scrub. The first Tattle had viciously torn her to shreds with sarcasm. The assistant furrowed her brow, and Tattle came in to save him.
"The mayor or his wife. We want to speak to them about their son."
The young lady paused, turning to the door on her right.
"The mayor's pretty busy, but..."
She then turned to the other door.
"I'm sure Madame Aroma would be very happy if you had news on her son. Just go through the door here."
"Thanks," Link said. Last time Link had approached this door, the stone mask had been over his face, and guards had chatted nervously in the hallways. He walked in regardless, confident there would be no carnage. The room was almost exactly as it had been before. There was a fireplace, a large red carpet, and a table with a tea set. Instead of heaps of rotting flesh, the dismembered person was alive and breathing in the chair across the room. He didn't recognize her at all, and he was glad he didn't. "If I saw that corpse in her, I probably wouldn't be able to meet her eyes." The image of the red stains was hard enough to shake from his head. Madame Aroma's hair was in a long red loop that hung over her head. Her lips were also red and full, pale fleshy cheeks below her small eyes. The mayor's wife had a loose yellow dress, and she held something in her hands, a small knife being drawn over an almost finished disc of wood. From across the room, he could tell it was a mask. She lifted her head and found the boy and fairy. "Oh dear," she began, her voice as pretentious as her obvious life of privilege. "Are you on a field trip?" Link wasn't sure how to take that, but Tattle already had an eyebrow raised in annoyance. "Or are you the expert person finder I hired?" Link took a step forward uncertainly. "Expert person finder? Yes, she continued. "I say, you have the face of a pro." The boy crossed the room to stand before her. "You're Madame Aroma, I take it." She laughed. "Am I Madame Aroma? Why, of course, dear boy. Did you just wander in from the swamp?" She shook her head, setting down the incomplete mask on the table beside her. "The person I want you to locate is my son, Kafei. You know him, don't you?" Link tensed. He didn't respond, unsure what he should or shouldn't know.
"Time travel is confusing. Let's set the record straight that we haven't agreed to help you find anyone,"
Tattle said, finally letting her irritation show. "Well, then why else are you here? Do you two go barging into people's houses often without a clear purpose?" Madame Aroma's smile returned mockingly. Tattle resigned to seething silently in anger. The mayor's wife turned back to her mask. Her smile fell, and Link noticed the mask's features for the first time. It was the face of a young child. Purple hair surrounding the wooden face. Eye sockets were cut out, but only 3/4 of it were complete. "The boy from the laundry pool?" he thought. "Kafei," Madame Aroma said. "I decided to make a mask of him since he's been gone. He used to have purple hair like his father when he was younger. He disappeared about a month ago. It's terrible. I can't get food down my throat, and I've lost 5 pounds. She sighed again. "Well, you haven't agreed to anything yet, but could you look for him? I wasn't lying when I said you looked like a pro." Link dared to agree, despite Tattle's clear, visible reservations. "Well, yes. That's actually why we came here, just like you guessed. Sorry my fairy friend can be a bit terse."
On my good days,
Tattle grumbled. We're friends of Anju's, Link said, and even though we don't know Kafei personally, we want to help her find him. The mayor's wife tilted her head. Friends of Anju's, who don't know Kafei? Link nodded uncertainly. We want to do everything we can to help. I see. Well, I already told you he's been missing for about a month, but nobody has a clue where he went, or why. It's like he just vanished. He was here one night, and the next, there was an empty bed, with no note. She paused again, shaking her head of a memory before continuing. No one's seen him since. Huh, Link said, wondering how the boy in the plaza connected to all this. I think I know where to start.
You do?
Tattle asked. Madame Aroma smiled again from her chair. Of course he does. He's an expert.
You think Anju and Kafei had a kid or something?
Tattle asked. Link set his glass of milk on the counter. You're joking, right?
How else are we going to explain a younger version of Kafei wandering the streets of Clocktown?
Her feet dangled off the counter's wooden edge, and Link was only one of 2 guests occupying the stools at the bar. Behind the counter, multicolored shelves held all kinds of milk, and a well-dressed, pot-bellied man rubbed an empty bottle clean with a rag. Aside from the barkeep, boy, fairy, and man at the counter, there was also a large Zora sitting at a far table. Otherwise, only the distant hum of the milk bar's music kept them company. Well, Link said, taking another sip of his rich, creamy beverage, the purple-haired kid can't be a secret love child. He's at least 10 years old. Anju and Kafei aren't old enough to have a kid that old.
Maybe there's a secret paramour, or a long-lost brother.
Hey, no gossip. The barkeep, Mr. Barton, shot them a nasty look before turning back to his cleaning. The only reason you're in here is because you happened upon the door when it was unlocked, and I was too nice to turn you away.
That didn't stop you from having these 2 other visitors,
Tattle thought, though she kept that one to herself.
Anyways,
Tattle continued, softer now.
I really don't know how to explain it. That kid obviously has a connection to Kafei, since he delivers his letters to Anju. And if we're going off Madame Aroma's mask, he looks exactly like younger Kafei did.
Link's blue eyes were pensive. I think a secret younger brother or some kind of lost relative is a best bet. Maybe we should have asked Madame Aroma about that.
No, because then she would have found out about the boy in the plaza,
Tattle said.
And we don't want to draw any attention to either him or Kafei. This guy clearly is secretive and upset about something since he ran away and is still alive. Hopefully. So we have to do this discreetly if we ever want to find him.
The clock in the back of the room ticked away the remaining hours as the 2 companions sat there.
We have to wait until Anju gets the letter,
Tattle remembered. The delivery gave them leverage to establish a relationship with her. Otherwise, she'd have no reason to entertain 2 strangers trying to help her find her lost lover. Link and Tattle had decided not to let Anju in on the time traveling this cycle. It would make things less complicated. Aren't you gonna flee? Tattle turned to the new voice, and Link did too. The man sitting at the counter's other end faced them. He had dark, thinning hair and a tired, middle-aged face, but the familiarity of his appearance bugged her. She'd definitely seen him before. Flee? Link asked, feigning ignorance. The man nodded, nursing his own bottle. No one believes me when I tell them that moon's gonna cause trouble. I'm leaving town tomorrow. We can't expect anyone to attend our show. I'm still so very sorry our performance had to be cancelled. Tattle looked at the large Zora next, who had joined the conversation. His back remained against the table, legs spread wide to allow his full girth to have room. The blazer he wore was wide open and exposed his blue-green rubbery torso. Mr. Barton remained cleaning his bottle behind the counter, not appearing interested in anything being said. This place has a reputation for being a great live venue, so it's a shame, Zora said. The human sitting near Link nodded, shifting his brown eyes back to the boy and fairy. If you have nowhere else to go, you should seek refuge at the Gorman Track in the south, my brother's ranch. Then it hit her. She remembered Ingo and Forlin Gorman, summoning ghosts, plotting to steal Romani and Link's souls. Link had shot one of them with an arrow in 2 different cycles, and in the latter one, they'd been torn apart by skeletons.
That was just last cycle,
she thought, though it felt like it had been forever ago. Now, as she looked at the third brother, she wondered if he was anything like his twisted, malevolent, grave-robbing siblings. My older brother, he continued, ignorant of Tattle's revelation. He's a nice guy.
A nice guy?
Tattle thought. Either he was just as bad or oblivious. She saw Link's eyes flash with recognition too, but he hid his shock before anyone else could notice. We already have a plan if things get too bad. They will, mark my words, the third Gorman brother said. Before they get bad, I'd like to hear at least a preview of what the concert would have sounded like, the Zora said. Maybe we could do a sound check. Tattle watched Link think that over and then smile. He leapt from his stool and walked to the Zora, leaving Tattle on the counter. Was the band that was supposed to play the Indogogos? The hero asked. The aquatic creature's sad black eyes brightened. Why, of course! I was excited to share Lulu's wonderful voice with Clocktown yet again, but it's sadly gone missing. Her voice, that is. And if Gorman's predictions are right, it seems the concert would have been cancelled anyway by the moon outside.
Is his name Gorman?
Tattle thought, turning to the middle-aged man doubtfully. I could help you do a sound check, Link said. My friend and I are killing time right now, and I have an instrument. The hero pulled out his ocarina. If you have music, I can read. I most certainly do, the Zora exclaimed. Here, take this immediately. He reached into his bag and retrieved a sheet of music, waving out its wrinkles. Stand center stage. Ah, how I've been waiting to hear this song again. It's been so long. Link squinted at the score as Tattle flew to his side.
More music stuff? She asked. You know, I should really learn to play an instrument. We could form our own little band.
What instrument would you play? Link asked, smiling again.
I'm not sure. Probably the trombone. I've always wanted to play something that's 20 times my size.
My name is Toto, the Zora said, ignoring her strange humor. What are yours? Link.
Tattle.
She floated to sit on the table with them.
Link and I actually ran into Lulu a couple of days ago.
She realized that was a complete lie, as technically they'd met Lulu tomorrow?
Does that cycle still exist?
Tattle wondered.
In another universe? Or did it get erased as soon as we played the Song of Time?
You probably didn't see her in the best of shapes then, Toto said. She's been in a funk for quite a while. Tattle restrained herself from pointing out that she probably knew more about the situation than he did. When Link started playing his ocarina, the Zora, Fairy, and other two humans watched attentively. His melody filled the mostly empty bar from the nearby stage, falling to land pleasantly over their ears.
That boy is good at everything,
Tattle thought.
How can one boy be a swordsman, acrobat, archer, magician, warrior, and musician?
The song carried a rich melancholy. The empty chairs, tables, and stools were an accompaniment to the melody's empty longing. Light drifted in through the high windows, shining a spotlight on the dust dancing through the stillness. Tattle turned when she heard sniffling behind her. The middle-aged man, Gorman, cried and wiped his nose with the back of his hand. When he finished, the Zora applauded him. Bravo! That was the best! That melody, Gorman stammered, as Link slid from his stage and rejoined them. The brother wiped his eyes again, absently turning back to his milk. It brings back so many memories. It's their old standby, Ballad of the Windfish. That's the song that members of the previous generation of the Indogogos made famous. I entered show business because I heard that song at the Carnival of Time long ago. Toto smiled broadly. The one you heard singing must have been the original Lulu, the band manager explained. Mother of the current lead singer, who's also named Lulu. Gorman's eyes widened. Oh, so her daughter is singing now. Is that so? I'd like to hear that. He sniffled again, wiping his eyes a final time. God's willing, you'll get that chance, Toto said, his smile faltering. It reminds me of my brothers, Gorman said, pulling out a mask from within his jacket. It was fashioned to look like him, a handlebar mustache set in a similar face. I haven't seen them in so long, but I thought I'd finally visit them at their track, given... He trailed off, unable to find the right words.
Given the end of the world?
Tattle finished in her head. It's been so long, Gorman said. We were here together when we first heard Lulu sing. I hope they've moved on too. He didn't elaborate, continuing to stare at the mask as he sat there. Thank you, young man. You've done good work. Now, you should flee. The world doesn't need to lose any more musicians. He shot the boy a half-hearted smile before taking another gulp of his milk and looking to the shelves. Link said his farewells and finished his milk too, content to leave the Zora and Gorman to reminisce. East Clocktown was abuzz, filled with all the usual patrons this early in the cycle. The sun was hardly past noon, and guests visited the stalls lining the square walls. The Stockpot Inn was just to their right, flanked by colorful banners hanging from wire. The eastern gate to Akana Canyon was guarded. The armored man kept his spear close and stood tall. Tattle took all of this in as the silent bar closed behind them.
That was interesting.
Yeah, Link said. It's easy to forget all of your enemies have a past. That was a nice reminder that Forlin and Ingo were human too.
We're human,
Tattle said.
You become a monster as soon as you kidnap children and try to rip out their souls. Let's hope Gorman's moral compass is better than his name or his brother's.
She looked down to see that the hero was disappointed with her usual cynicism. She sighed, digging deep for something else to say.
Well, yeah, I hear you though. Maybe the Grey Witch chick was right when she said you helping people was doing good for this realm.
Link nodded, satisfied. Like reuniting two long-lost lovers? After a short walk, they found Anju conversing with the postman, as planned. The innkeeper stood behind her hotel counter, sporting her usual shoulder-length dark red hair and blue dress. The postman was young and lanky, sporting a red hat and white shirt. He stood on the counter's other sides, holding out a letter to her. Neither of them had any recollection of Link and Tattle on this cycle. The two adults paid the young strangers no mind. Anju stared at the letter, either frightened or appalled by it, but she did not take it at first. A pit grew in Tattle's stomach at the reappearance of the innkeeper.
We've seen her die before, she thought, and we've left every other version of her behind to be crushed.
It didn't feel right getting to know her again. Though Tattle assured herself this time would be different, they'd never turn back time again. Listen, Anju said, her voice trembling. I need to know where you got that letter from. I can't tell you? Why not? Because... And then the young man dropped the letter on her desk. He turned, walked around the boy and fairy, and went out the front door, leaving Anju to stare at the delivery. Link and Tattle were left awkwardly at the door as witnesses. The fairy wasn't sure what to do, letting Link take the lead since he'd lived through this moment before. Anju ignored them at first, not even aware of their presence as they approached the counter. She picked up the letter and pulled back the envelope seal, slipping the folded piece of paper out delicately. She tried to unfold it with both hands while still holding onto the envelope, but she was shaking too much. The envelope fell from her fingers and swung back and forth on an invisible pendulum to the floor. Her hands moved further down the page as she read on, and then she looked up from it. She took one hand off to cover her mouth in shock. The innkeeper set it down on the desk and closed her eyes, taking in a deep breath. She seemed to only just then notice Link and Tattle. I'm sorry. She apologized, her voice slightly wary. She recomposed herself and tried to smile again. Link interrupted her before she apologized again. You have nothing to be sorry for. I just have a reservation under ink. My name's Link, but I think the name was put in incorrectly. The innkeeper took a moment to process that, her mind obviously still swarming with the letter's contents. Tattle and Link already knew what it said.
But we'll have to pretend otherwise,
the fairy thought. I'm so sorry, Anju said anyway. My life hasn't been all that simple lately. I have you down for an afternoon arrival, Mr. Link, in the knife chamber. Are you okay? Link asked sincerely. Anju turned to that letter again, lifting it uncertainly again. Is it about Kafei? Anju's eyes widened instantly. You're also looking for Kafei? Link nodded, and after a moment's consideration, the innkeeper's eyes set themselves with determination. I have a request then, she said. I have a clue that will help you find him. Tonight, at 11:30, please come to our kitchen. We'll talk then. The crowds wound down with the sunset as families either returned to their homes or became the first to flee. Link watched one caravan roll by with the Millers stitched into its fabric. A little girl and her mother sat in the back as the father and horse guided them up West Clocktown's alley. He swore he recognized the girl. Everyone in this realm looks familiar, though, he reminded himself. That's what made Termina a realm of shadows. Link and Tattle wandered the Western District's narrow staircase and ramp. Shops flanked the alleyway, with homes on the higher stories glowing softly with lamplight. The boy admired the flowers along the alley's center and the stalls that were still open. This was the sector he'd spent the least time in, and his bag was full of rupees again, thanks to the knife chamber drawer.
Hello, can I interest you in the Camaro's mask?
Link met the eyes of a young woman standing at a booth. Her stall had many masks hanging from its ceiling. They clattered together in the gentle wind. For a moment, Link was behind his own mask stand with Navi by his side. He'd been known as Onmin then, keeping his real name a secret. Except that wasn't me, Link thought, bringing himself out of the memory. That was a dead man's past. Kamaro's mask? Link asked. One of them was fashioned in the shape of a great fairy, long pink hair dangling from the wooden face. The woman, however, pointed to another one. The face was long, shrewd, and gray. Wooden black hair was pulled tight above the pale face with a pointed black beard. It seemed to depict a normal, albeit ghostly-looking man, neck and all.
He was a talented dancer, but his spirit is said to reside in masks carved to his likeness. If you wear it, Kamaro will dance through you, and you'll be the most talented one at the Carnival of Time.
She flashed him a pretty smile, which Link returned. Only 10 rupees. No, thank you, Link replied. I'm just browsing. He pulled himself away from her look of disappointment, continuing on through the line of stalls to the plaza housing doorways to Great Bay or South Clocktown.
This is ridiculous,
Tattle said, looking up at the waning day.
I hate wasting time like this. It feels like we should be doing something.
The town bell cut through the air just then, ringing solemnly. The townsfolk joined them both in looking up at the moon. Its mean mug had drawn closer. Save your rupees here! Deposit your life savings with me, a trusted banker! A man wearing a black cap that covered auburn hair bothered them now. He sat in a booth that gated off a large metal safe. You look like you want to start a bank account, young sir. Step right about and start your savings today. Link ignored him, too, though Tattle gave him a loud scoff.
Why is everyone so intent on making sales at 6 in the evening?
She asked. That's a perfectly reasonable time to sell things, Link said.
Well, they're trying too hard, Tattle countered. I don't know why they care so much.
I guess when you're not out saving the world, you still find something to be stressed about.
Imagine, ha!
Tattle exclaimed.
If I could live a life that wasn't filled with constant peril, I'd have the most peaceful little existence.
I doubt that, Link said.
Why?
You and I are addicted to adrenaline by now, he said. If we ever stop being heroes, I bet we'll still find things to be stressed about. Tattle frowned.
That's pretty grim, speaking from experience.
Link hesitated. How about, instead of dredging up bad memories, we have a picnic in North Clocktown instead?
You read my mind.
Link bought ham, cheese, bread, and tomato soup from another vendor who did not harass them. His stomach churned with anticipation as the scent of freshly baked dough and stewed vegetables greeted him. Tattle helped him carry their dinner as they made their way behind the clock tower and then to the large grassy field in the north. They contentedly ate their meal in the park as night officially came. Torches were lit by the guards as the sun slipped away, and children in red and blue caps ran around and played tag without bothering the human and fairy. Turns out it was only Deku Scrubs that bothered the Bombers gang. 2 of the kids wore masks, one in the shape of a frog, and the other a pair of bunny ears. The one with floppy rabbit ears seemed to run faster than all the rest. "Do you always come to Clocktown on the Carnival of Time?" Link asked, laying his spoon down. The masks reminded him that it was now a holiday in Termina, which was a fact he never remembered.
No,
Tattle replied, sitting in the grass with her wings flapping absently.
masks aren't really in Tails and I's sizes, and I always thought the whole thing was kind of silly. It's not really made for fairies. We checked out the concerts sometimes, but that's all.
She paused, her light growing brighter like the stars.
What about you, fairy boy? Do they have holidays in Hyrule?
Yeah, but I grew up in the Kokiri Forest. Most of my life in Hyrule was spent there, or 7 years in the future, when Hyrule was a desolate land. I did learn about some, though. We celebrate the end of the Civil War, and King's Day, and the defeat of evil, which was also the founding of Hyrule.
Someone defeated evil already?
Tattle asked.
Clearly they missed some.
Link smiled. It's more of a symbolic thing. A great evil named Demise was defeated when Hyrule was founded, or so the legends say.
Seems about as silly as all the other holidays. Are they fun?
Yeah, he answered, remembering. He'd celebrated 2 of them with Zelda during his 1 year of peace. Why did that have to end? He thought. Is it my fault? He'd left Hyrule of his own accord, hadn't he? Maybe I am more addicted to adrenaline than I realized. All I had to do was stay. However, he knew that wasn't fair. The masked salesman had ended his happiness, and based on his journey, Majora would have found a way to end it eventually, too. Link watched an old woman enter Clocktown from the northern gate, approaching from behind a guard. It was completely dark by now, except for the torchlight within the city walls. She was dressed in a gray travel cloak and had faded hair pulled tightly above her head. A large, bulbous sack was thrown over her hunched shoulders, the fire washing over her wrinkled face. She shuffled across the dirt road across the field, making her way toward the East Clocktown entrance. I wonder what that old lady has in that sack, Link wondered aloud. Tattle smiled.
Probably bombs.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't talk to her then. Old women hate you, so she probably would have thrown them at you. When Link closed the door of the Stockpot Inn behind him, the lobby was empty. She must have left it unlocked for us. The boy and fairy quietly walked to the staircase, feeling like intruders despite the invitation. Anju popped in from the hallway behind the desk. She wore the same dress, but an entirely different expression. Resolve. We'll talk in the kitchen. Link and Tattle followed around the stairwell to join her. The kitchen was homely and clean. A single dirty pot remained left over in the basin, but otherwise, the various counters and cabinets were neatly organized. Water flowed in a channel at the back of the room, and starlight came in from a window. When Anju turned to face them again, her fear returned. I'm sorry to trouble you late at night, Anju said, bringing her hands in front of her. That letter I received, it was from him, Kafei. Link feigned shock. He'd seen the letter himself on his second cycle. He'd been a dying Deku scrub at that time, but that was a story Anju would hear a different day. Strange, isn't it? Anju said. Getting a letter from a missing person? Are you sure it's from him? Link asked. There's no mistaking it, the innkeeper replied. She grabbed an envelope on the counter, and Link thought it was Kafei's letter at first, but this one was sealed. I want you to deliver this letter to a postbox. Link uncertainly took the letter. That's it? When this is delivered, she continued, when he receives this letter, I want you to talk to him. Me? The boy asked. Are you sure? The innkeeper nodded. I'm sorry to trouble you at all, but I'm scared. I can't go. I don't know what postbox this letter was delivered to, and I couldn't get the answer out of the postman, but I figured you might be able to. It's okay, Anju, Link said, smiling. I know how hard things have been for you lately, and I what? He thought. Promise to reunite you with him on your deathbed because we were friends in another universe? All of the words caught in his throat. I'm happy to help, is what he said. Anju returned his smile. Please tell him that Anju is waiting for him, and please, after you've seen him, tell me how he looked. Thank you. After that, Anju left the boy with a letter in his hand and the fairy by his side. They stood there in silence before Tattle expectantly broke it.
Wow,
She said.
deliver a letter and talk to her boyfriend. Think you can handle it?
Shh, Link whispered, terrified that Anju might have heard. He stowed the letter in his bag before going to the hotel's front door. I understand her being so afraid. This guy's been gone for a while now, and who knows what he's been up to. Tattle uncertainly turned to the staircase, promising sleep, which he'd passed by.
Are you delivering the letter now?
Yeah, Link said. That way, it'll already be there by morning, and we can spy on the postman while he delivers it.
Fine,
Tattle said.
but I'm sleeping in tomorrow with or without you.
They entered East Clock Town's plaza again, now suspended in late night. Torches lit the colorful banners and blank, unoccupied stone floor. Link made his way toward the South Clock Town staircase. It's so deserted already, the boy noted, observing the vacant stalls. I always forget how quickly the town empties out.
Yeah, the moon is pretty
However, the rest of her sentence became a distant buzz, because at that moment, a nightmare came to life. Link saw a cloaked man standing at the East Clocktown gate. The stranger's head was tilted downward to hide his face in shadow, and Link's stomach twisted into a terrible, painful knot. No. At first, he thought it was another vision, another hallucination. The winds of Snowhead would be chilling his bones again, stinging his arms. That's impossible. He's dead. But the figure slowly raised his head, crossing the plaza as his hands rose to the rims of his hood. A guard lay beside the figure in a twisted heap, blood seeping from between the plates of armor. The masked salesman was illuminated in firelight, and he revealed the re-dead mask. Link was rooted to the spot in absolute terror as the dark pits filled his blue eyes again. The boy felt the blood in his veins seize, his muscles spasming as he lost all control. The mask slammed Link into the cold, hard ground, his cheeks opened to the bleed over the stone. The muscles in his arms loosened like streams of water, threatening to break through his skin. His body was on fire as his legs worked against his command, forcing him to his knees as his eyes were tethered to the dark pits, which only drew closer. The masked salesman was swift to draw nearer. The clock tower gears turned loudly behind him now, even though they were in East Clocktown. The masked salesman's voice was loud in his memory. Remember how powerless you feel. Remember how out of control you truly are. I'm always in command, even when I don't wear my mask. Link's hand was twisted backward, threatening to rip from his arm. Even when you're dead, Link finished, wide-eyed and defenseless as the re-dead face floated across the plaza and his blood boiled.
Stop!
Tattle flew into Link's eyes, covering them with her hands and pushing as hard as she could. It was far less painful than losing control of his blood, and he fell backward once the eye contact was broken. He curled into a ball, averting his eyes from the attacker. The masked salesman! The masked salesman! He was so afraid. Link retreated into the magic of his scar, concentrating on the image of Tattle smiling in Twinmold's lair. The boy screamed, jumping to his feet with glowing, white eyes. He thrust his arms forward without looking. Brilliant, colorless flames brightened the late Clocktown night. Link felt the darkness surge, however, as his fear blossomed. He quickly turned off the fierce deity, spinning around on his feet as his normal colors returned. The boy sprinted, his mind still dazzled as he ran for the upper district staircase. He's going to kill the mayor! Link screamed, never checking to see if the fire had killed his attacker. It was too risky. One glance could cost him his life. Another detail surfaced from his memory. His attacker had been balled from behind the re-dead mask. Link hadn't noticed. The masked salesman memory had been so powerful to immediately become reality. The reaping of the gray sparrow and the cold winds of Snowhead were loud in his ears as he ran for the mayor's residency. This attacker was not the masked salesman then. So who was it?
We have to warn the mayor!
Tattle yelled, flying just behind him. Link pulled the great fairy sword from his scabbard and tore through the wooden door to the mayor's house, not even checking to see if it was locked. He remembered the bloody mess in Madame Aroma's room and the chaos Clocktown was thrown into after the murders. I'm not letting that happen. Not here. Not again. Link sprinted down the hallway and past the unattended desk, throwing open the door on the right. The mayor and his wife were alone, sitting on the couch across the room. Mayor Detour, with his slicked purple hair and fine red robes, simply gasped. His wife leapt to her small legs. My dear boy, what is the meaning of this? Madame Aroma exclaimed. Link slammed the door behind him and drew his bow, crossing the room to stand at its center. The mayor's wife fell back into her couch in fear. There's someone here to kill you, Link said, his mind still unsteady. We're here to protect...
Link, he's here!
He heard the door creaking open behind him, but Link notched an arrow and spun around in half a heartbeat. When he released the string, however, it wasn't the man with the re-dead mask standing at the door. Link's arrow traveled directly through the guard's throat. The man in shining armor choked as he gasped for air, blood flowing onto the carpet and filling his lungs as he fell to his knees. The boy stood, mouth agape, as the guard died on the floor. His distinguished armor gave the guard away as Captain Vyson, who bled until his body was cold and still. Link remained standing, bow in hand. His mind rang as his vision blurred. Madame Aroma shrieked, jumping from the couch and running into a nearby wardrobe. She fell with a new bruise on her forehead. Gods, help, please! I didn't... Link stammered. What's going on here? More guards burst in through the doorway, though the three of them stopped when they saw their captain dead on the floor with an arrow in his neck. Link remained standing above his body with the murder weapon. Their eyes widened from behind their visors as a young woman jumped in beside them too. The villager pointed her finger at Link.
It was him,
she screamed.
He's the white-eyed demon who shot fire out of his hands. He tried to burn down East Clocktown. He killed the guard at the East Clocktown gate too.
He just killed Captain Vyson, Mayor Detour shouted. Arrest the demon! You don't understand, Link stammered, backing away and dropping his bow. They weren't as gentle, however. In just a few steps, their long legs carried them across the room, and their gauntlets' metal grip scraped his bare forearms. He was overwhelmed by their strength as his bag, scabbard, and shield were taken. The rattling of chains came next, as Link's hands were pulled behind his back. Tattle remained floating in the back of the room, staring in complete horror. Stop! Link screamed, only finding his voice after the iron cuffs were placed over his wrists. You don't understand. Someone's going to kill the mayor. No, the guard who'd taken Link's weapon said. You're not, and you're under arrest for the murder of 2 guards and for performing dark witchcraft. No, please! Link was led roughly from the mayor's office. Another guard rummaged through the pockets of his belt until he found his ocarina. Don't use the fierce deity! Don't use the fierce deity! If he did, the darkness might overpower him in such an unbalanced state, and even if it didn't, he would unintentionally fry all the guards surrounding him and make matters worse. Let me explain! Link was dragged into the cold night. He looked around the plaza frightfully, but there was no sign of the robed man with the re-dead mask. When he turned back to the mayor's house, Tattle was flying after him. Link! She screamed. Tattle! Something red caught his eye, and he saw an envelope flying from his bag. It twirled through the air, unnoticed by the guard, who hastily carried him and his belongings away. Kafei's letter! He screamed, but a metal hand was forced over his mouth, and Link could say no more. The fairy trembled as she flew to pick up the forgotten letter. She watched as the hero of time was dragged to the dungeons.